Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're playing one of my favorite light cruisers in the game, Atlanta. At tier 7, you have absolutely ridiculous firepower. The DPM here is absolutely crazy. The difficulty of playing this ship, of course, like all light cruisers, is trying to stay alive to actually use your DPM. So of course, we're going to be hugging some islands rather close so that we don't have to deal with being spotted while firing. Notice here in this first game especially how well our destroyer on our flank, this Gajimata, is going to be spotting for us. That's really helpful. We're going to play some Atlanta games where we don't quite have that, but when you have a good teammate, it makes playing Atlanta and all these light cruisers so much easier. Atlanta B here is the variant we're playing, Black Friday of course going on. And I think at tier 7, this has got to be one of the more fun ships to play. This and Sharnors, to me, are my most fun ships at tier 7 to play. When it comes to Atlanta, you get ridiculous levels of DPM, as mentioned. But I really need to put that in context for you. 315,000 HE DPM is the best out of all the tier 7 cruisers. But it's not only that, okay? You're better than a lot of tier 9 light cruisers, too. Something like Sejong, for example, has 288,000 HE DPM, less than Atlanta, 2 tiers higher. It has torps, it has smoke, it has other things to make up for it. But even something like Jinan, the tier 10 version, 380k, so it is more. But that's a tier 10. We're at tier 7 here, and we're in the ballpark. That is absolutely ridiculous. Whenever people go broadside, of course, swap to that AP, get fairly consistent damage out of this armor piercing into upper belts, certainly light cruisers as well. Unfortunately, not quite enough to get the citadels, at least until the very end here. But Atlanta DPM is quite addictive. I really like this ship. If you've ever thought to yourself while watching John the Ruthless play his Colbert and think, man, that looks like so much fun, the battle impact is crazy, the DPM is so awesome, I should try that. And then you go to play a Colbert and you realize you die instantly. At least that's what it seems like to me. Atlanta could be a good choice to at least start learning that playstyle. It's a little more forgiving at mid tiers thanks to there being just less power overall, especially at longer ranges, less consistent spotting, less cross maps, less accuracy. So it's a little bit more forgiving. People play a little closer, and the big problem you'll find with Atlanta is going to be its shell velocity. When you get in situations where you can use these guns, you just have to lead a long ways. It's a really slow shell, so it's going to be difficult. I would recommend zooming out 1 tick, so scroll your mouse wheel back just by 1 tick, and that will help you aim so much better with these main guns. Of course, we're playing quite aggressive here, and when enemy battleships are distracted, there are opportunities for us to get a little bit closer and greed for the 4th fire on this Ismail. Your fire chance is only at 5%, but when you fire this many shells, you still get pretty consistent fire output. Do you run IFHE on this ship? You certainly can. However, I don't like to. I don't find myself getting that much benefit out of it. We're still aiming for superstructures a lot of the time with the HE anyway, even if we're running IFHE. So for the most part, I'm not. If I can guarantee myself in tier 7 games where the HE actually pens tier 7 battleships everywhere, or at least most of them, not this Nelson, gets through 26 millimeters of armor there, then it could be worth it. Like tier 7 ranked seasons, for example. Atlanta is an absolute monster in tier 7 ranked, but in random battles, I tend to prefer my fire chance and then swap over to the armor piercing if we get the opportunity into some of those broadsides. 8.5 kilometer radar here is very unique for tier 7. We don't see a lot of radars at this tier at all, so you can surprise a lot of destroyers that way. You have a lot of extra battle impact thanks to that. Trying to get close to the cap zones can be tricky depending on the map, but most of the mid-tier maps have good islands for an Atlanta to push up to. One of the major strengths of these slow shells is that you can use a lot more island cover than the vast majority of cruisers in the game can. So often the islands are extremely tall and they don't actually let most 152 millimeter 203s, anything like that, can't fire over them without being so far away that you're spotted around the island anyway. Atlanta can get very close to these islands and actually still fire over them. It is an advantage in some ways to have such slow shell velocity. Although here we're seeing the disadvantage, 10 kilometers, and I'm just struggling to aim at this cruiser. You're going to see a lot of misses in this one, as Atlanta takes a lot of practice to actually use properly. I really like that this ship has torps, by the way. It's one of the best features in a light cruiser. If we're pushing up close to caps, if we're pushing up on islands, more likely than not, you're going to get rushed eventually. Here we're rushing an Nelson, but a lot of the time, maybe your team melts on your flank and you're stuck at that island. There's no retreat. So it's really nice to have the torps to deter people from pushing, or if they do push, well, you can just land some torpedoes. Here we get a Nelson that has short fuse AP, so he gets the full pens and gets the citadels. However, Massachusetts does not have short fuse AP, and I want to introduce you to the broadside tech. It's so filthy, but you can sit flat broadside on to battleships that don't have short fuses and that don't have sap, let's be honest, and you can just tank full salvos from these battleships, and they're just gonna overpen you. That's how we lived. Our ship is so thin that these shells don't have time to arm and actually detonate inside our ship. They'll pass right through, detonate on the other side, only getting overpens for that poor Massachusetts that pushed. If we didn't have those torpedoes, certainly multiple salvos and the secondaries would have finished us off. But the torpedoes actually do some pretty solid damage here. You only have 4.5 kilometers of range. That's why I call them YOLO torps, or deterrents around islands a lot of the time. But at least they do 16,633 alpha damage, which is really, really solid. Not the best firing angles on them, but for the most part, you're using them at closer ranges or trying to time it so that the battleship has already fired. Radar, again, great for dealing with destroyers at these tiers. I would recommend you run a Hydro, by the way. The defensive AA here is not very good. The AA on this entire ship, Atlanta, has been terrible ever since the RTS rework. Back in the day, Atlanta was the absolute pinnacle of no-fly zones, even into full up tiers. You just could not get close to this thing in RTS carriers. It was unbelievable. It was really, really useful. Great utility for your team. Unfortunately, they nerfed AA, and especially Atlanta AA. This ship is not a deterrent at all. You get struck a lot by carriers because you push up to islands, and you don't have enough AA to even defend yourself. And the D-Fire, while unlimited, just isn't as useful as Hydro these days. It does not do enough to counter the carrier, where Hydro is going to help you out a lot against torps from DDs that are trying to torp you out because you're a big threat to them, as well as submarines, right? We got to remember that. Hydro is more useful against more classes than just a weak defensive fire would be. Here into an up tier, okay? I'm not just going to show you the stomps that this ship can have against its own tier with its ridiculous DPM. We got to talk about the up tiers. Tier 7 is a little better these days, I would say, thanks to tier 9s often facing off against super ships, but it's still going to be hard for an Atlanta in up tiers. 13.3 kilometers of range alongside abysmal shell velocity means that even if you had more range, you wouldn't even be able to use it that reliably. Makes it tricky. You need to find the islands that you can push up to and be patient, okay? We haven't done that much damage. We're already over 8 minutes into this battle, barely doing 30k damage. Not great. But we've at least saved a lot of our HP for this mid and late game. That's often what I'm trying to do in cruisers. Their utility and DPM is incredibly powerful in the late game. The less crossfires you have to deal with, the more aggressive positions you can take without having to worry about ships from really long range sniping at you. Like, for example, here, we're in the middle of the map and we're still not being spotted, thanks to our not great range, meaning that we don't get spotted if there's anyone on the 9-10 lines here. At least I guess there would be an island in the way, but we're going to cross this gap and we're still not going to be spotted by the Los Andes and the Kniza back here. It's really, really useful to have this DPM and be able to sneak around the map. And you can't do that early game nearly as much as you can in the mid game. And that's really, really strong for a cruiser to retain its HP. We don't have a heal here, so playing safer early on is going to be a better bet. And then creatively using island cover. Most of the maps you're going to play as an Atlanta have plenty of islands on them. So here, we're fully in the open, south of sea cap here, but we're still not being spotted. We're able to fire at this Chambard. Now we are because of the Toulon, but he should go behind the island soon, so I'm not too worried. We're trying to get across here, and there we go. We go dark again. you can find a lot of positions where you can fire without being detected. You just got to use your brain and think about it a lot. And honestly, it takes a lot of practice, okay? It's not just coming naturally to anyone. It's a lot of practice with trying to figure out these positions. And that's why Atlanta can be such a great trainer to help you learn how to play some of these awkward light cruisers that are difficult to survive in, allowing you to maybe have a little bit easier time at mid-tier learning the playstyle before you go get yourself something like a Colbert or grind towards something like Jinan. Although in that case, you get a smoke, which does help out a lot for the times where you don't have a good island cover. And in the past, I've talked about this with light cruisers, but I need DPM on my light cruisers. I want that battle impact. I'm okay with the lack of survivability if I have some DPM to have some massive impact when I get in strong positions. I think it was like Ochakov ship request, something like that I was running into that issue where that ship just does not have a lot of DPM at all. It has a radar, it's higher tier than this, of course, but I just found myself struggling to actually finish off any ships that I got an advantage on based on my positioning. Atlanta is not that case. Assuming you can aim, I was missing this Chambard a lot more than I would like to show you guys, but it's still a good example, so we're going to include it. But I really do value this high DPM element of Atlanta. It allows you to burst down ships, and it really relies on your positioning. So that's why I'm trying to focus on that here. And learning this at lower tiers allows you so much easier to deal with those up tiers, or at the very least, trying to play your higher tier light cruisers. Because again, it really is not easy. At this point, we've certainly lost this battle, okay? We're not going to be able to carry every match in Atlanta, but getting close to 100k or maybe even a little above it is a really great example of how this ship can play in higher tiers. You need patience and positioning. And I think that's really cool because that's all in your control. Your positioning on your map is all down to your own playstyle. There's not RNG involved in that. Your battle impact is often dictated about how you can assess the map that you're currently playing, where the enemy team is going, and then applying your massive DPM. I think if I had to distill it down, that's why I enjoy ships like Atlanta so much. They have overwhelming firepower and amazing battle impact, and that their main weakness is that they die very quickly. So to mitigate that, learning how to play around islands, and sure, there's going to be games where there's just nothing you can do. You get locked out as light cruisers, it happens. But having your main weakness be mostly dictated by your positioning and thinking about where to play on the map is really cool. I love that. It engages my brain so much, and it rewards me for finding good positions. In this case, we do end up getting rushed, right? Like our team kind of collapsed on this flank, but we still managed to hold on for an incredibly long time and have massive impact on that flank. Went on to win that game. And I'm not trying to downplay the weakness here, okay? It definitely is. Light cruisers are very hard to play, okay? I'm just really enjoying playing these light cruisers because you're living on the edge a little bit, okay? As well as positioning matters so much, okay? Let's take this game for example. We're gonna do a live game. Got pretty lucky with Matchmaker, right? We're top tier. And on this map, there's plenty of islands for us to use. We played on this flank previously in this video already, so we're not going to go there. I would be more inclined to go this way, honestly, just because there's a submarine on this flank. But let's use this other side as an example. We also have most of our battleships going this way, so maybe this will be our weaker flank that we want to support. We're not going to play in the middle necessarily, but it's good to use islands to push up from, and this is a really good island, a really safe island. Plenty of safe islands you can take on this map, and others, like you could play here, you could play behind these two, we could play behind this one. Like you see how so many of these islands have these lower shelves that you can actually fire over as a cruiser. Plenty of cruisers can fire over these, not just Atlanta, but Atlanta gets to use some of these larger islands as well, which is really interesting. We're also going to be trying to keep an eye out for the enemy team. Where are they going to be strongest? Where are they going to be pushing? Because it's easier to hit ships that are pushing into you, that are closer to you, getting closer to you. You just got to watch that we don't get overrun. But that's what our torpedoes are for. We have options. I guess that's what it comes down to. I feel like when I'm playing in Atlanta, most situations I have options to play outside of some of the really campy up tier games. Then it comes down to having enough patience to not just YOLO push like I sometimes will do. Crossing this gap could be a little bit awkward. My build we'll look at towards the end. It's a very aggressive build, okay? We're not even running full conceal here. But I like the DPM, and I find I can get away with this. Not a lot of DDs as well. We're going to notice that the sub was pinging from here. Gaeta was over here, so it's probably a kamikaze on this flank, if I had to guess. And... oh, maybe not. He's in a division with Murmansk and Congo. So that's what we're looking for, too. Maybe they spawn middle, actually. Who knows? But we're getting to our flank now, and... I mean, these islands are pretty tall, yet we're still going to be able to use them. We're going to have to slow down soon to hopefully farm this Sharnors, who has, yeah, taken out our T-22. But look at this island. It's great. And zoom out 1 tick. You see that? Makes it so much easier to lead. Oh, we're radared. All right. And I feel like I slowed down a little too late here. So might get shot at here by the Sharnors. We'll see. He's a little focused on something else at the moment. There we go. Getting those full pens into his superstructure. And... don't shoot me, please. It'd be embarrassing. It would be so embarrassing to do one live game at the end of these videos, and then I just get death struck first thing. Please. Okay, good. You got the HE. And we're not spotted anymore. We're fine. We're fine. All right, good start. We farmed down the battleship, and now... we're not going to full push, but what we are going to do is try and help our team out. Kamikaze. Interesting. Interesting push there. So, we can help our team a ton here by potentially just radaring this Atlanta out for our Ismail. Not going to help on the DD on this flank because Kamikaze isn't here, of course. Oh, there's an Arizona around the corner too. All right, looks like... he wasn't hiding in a smoke or anything like that, so... or I guess he wouldn't be, right? Fighting ourselves is a pretty funny DPM race, of course. In this case, we had battleship help, so we're fine. Kind of awkward here if the Ismo goes down, which I think he will. It would be really nice, actually, to have IFHE in this one, by the way. This is an example where it would actually do us quite well. Because Arizona, we'd full pen everywhere. Sharnors, it wouldn't have helped on, actually. It would have been worse, but that's okay. Again, we're going to try and use these islands. Aha, we found the sub. DPM, turn the guns. Please turn the guns. Nice, we get him. Good. Good, good, good. So, now, the enemy team is pretty strong on the other side. Do we push spawn? No, we do not push spawn. But what we can do is use islands to try and guarantee a lot of damage in here. Notice that enemy team is all kind of angled this way. So, we're going to play a little bit aggressive. Perhaps too aggressive. We'll see. We'll see. Nice, he shot. And he's got the HE. Okay. We can play quite aggressive now. Arizona's got a very, very long reload. And he just damage controlled, I think. Oh, maybe not, actually. That fire just might have ticked out. So we're going to try and get the fires. Yeah. That one just ticked out. And then maybe swap to the AP. Yeah, let's go AP. He damage controls. Good. And now we know he's going to fire in the next 10 seconds or so. So we're actually going to try and get ready for that to throw off his aim. Should be about now, right? There it is. Oh, wow, he wasn't even looking at me. Okay. My timing is a little off. I got this kind of internal clock of 30 seconds-ish. Ooh, that's unfortunate that he doesn't stay lit. And back to the HE because he damage controlled. Okay, team is kind of melting on the other side. Hopefully, I'm not the only one spotting this. That would be quite sad. Because we need to reverse behind this island. We might take a big hit here. Come on, submarine, get above the water. Please, don't just sit there low. Oh my goodness, okay. Would way rather have a DD on this flank instead of a sub, obviously, because he would be spotting. I should probably leave this and go back and help. That's probably too late for that even. See, if you were on the water here, we'd be able to farm down this Arizona rather quickly. Okay, they get him, actually. Good work, submarine. Maybe I was wrong to doubt. But yeah, now the enemy team is very strong on the other side. So, creative use of islands now. They're probably, these guys start pushing through this gap, and then these guys are going to push to spawn. So, we can't, like, get on these sides of these islands and use them necessarily. So, we're going to have to use kind of the narrow side here is my guess. But we got to get back into this fight rather quickly if we want to help out. We chose the wrong side, I guess, is what it comes down to, right? They didn't push terribly aggressively here, and maybe I took too long to go to the other side, right? I sort of pushed spawn on this Arizona, perhaps. Not fully. You can't win them all, though, is the other thing, right? So I'm just trying to talk through decision-making, though. And in this case, yeah, I'm worried about there. But I also want to help our Colorado as soon as I possibly can. So do I go in front of this island to try and get some shots on these guys sooner and potentially get caught broadside on to anybody pushing this way, right? That's our danger here right now. I think I kind of have to, actually. Or maybe he's dead already. He's dead already. Okay. Then we won't. Then we won't. That's fine. That's fine. So, we have no spotting help. This is where it gets hard, right? Atlanta doesn't have the armor to bounce really any of this. So, we're in a situation where we're going to have to try and dodge. And that's not easy against battleships, of course. So we're going to have to get a little lucky here. But we've saved our HP, right? We've saved our HP, so we can play a little bit aggressive here. And we do have to, right? Otherwise, the game is just going to end on them capping out. We're going to have to hope that these guys are a little slow. And now that we're on this side of these islands, if they push middle, we're using these islands to stay alive against them a little easier. All right, let's turn into these. Take a bit of damage, it's fine. And we have DPM for days, remember. He's still turning his rear guns, so we got a bit of time. He's almost got him turned. Okay. He's got him turned at this point. So we're gonna try and angle in and just hope he has bad dispersion right now. Battleships at this tier can have bad dispersion. He did not. This guy got stuck in our radar or hydro range. And we're gonna go after this guy now. Unfortunately, I missed a lot of my shots there into the DD. They went a little low. And now I tried to aim a little closer than the gray line suggested, so let's see. Do I get hits? I did not. I missed. Okay, but we still got 96 out of this one, and we nearly brought it back, but a pretty good result overall. 4 kills, we'll take it. So we end up getting capped out here. That's why we had to play aggressive, right? We can't just always run away. But you see, we got a lot of impact in this one on the flank we chose to go to. And if I had to critique where I went, probably just not turning around sooner, right? Following that Ismail, I think was right to go help finish off the submarine, I think was good. And then I probably shouldn't have pushed to get the Arizona. I should have just gone to the other side to help deal with them pushing through. I think I would have made it in time for at least, if not the New Mexico, to help him out before he dies. Certainly, we would have helped the Colorado before he went down, and I would have done better then. However, you know, there's games like this one where we'll put it nicely to say our team was not as strong, perhaps. And so, you know, you shouldn't take it too critically. But I wanted to talk about some things I could have personally done better, because that's the whole point, right, of some of these videos is kind of learning and seeing decision making, because that is, at the end of the day, the most important skill in World of Warships, okay? A lot is out of your control. Matchmaker's out of your control. Playing battleships, your dispersion is completely out of your control. All that you can control is where you position your ship, right? And that's where it's so important to discuss positioning and decision making. Here's the build that I was using. Incredibly aggressive, okay? It would be much better to run conceal, probably over outnumbered, let's be honest. On a ship like this one, we already have great dispersion, so we don't have to worry about that as much. Running top grade, heavy HE, things like this to buff our damage even further, I just find really fun because, like I said, I really enjoy the damage output of Atlanta. I think it's really, really fun. And here are the upgrades that I was running. Armor is incredibly weak, 13, and then 89 for our Citadel here. And just look at how thin it is, right? This is why we can just eat overpens to battleships that don't have improved, not flight times, wow, or pen angles. It's improved short fuses. Short fuses is the word that I'm looking for here. And if you angle the ship, then, well, you're just making it a bigger hitbox, right? A longer hitbox, so then these shells can go through. And maybe I shouldn't have done that early against that Prince Idol. Shouldn't have angled in quite so soon, perhaps, but sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Dodging is always a bit of, it's a bit of RNG, right? We got to get lucky if we're not going to take damage to the battleship at close ranges. And if we're being honest, a cruiser probably shouldn't be able to outbrawl a battleship at 5 kilometers, okay? We shouldn't be expecting to just open water battleships in our light cruisers. I don't think. I think it's reasonable to say a battleship should win that one. But let me know what you think in the comments down below about Atlanta. I absolutely love this thing. And for Black Friday, you can actually get this one for a bit of a discount, as well as doubloons, right? This one is a doubloon option as well. So if you've been grinding through your daily tokens, voyage tokens, you could maybe even get this one for free. And it's absolutely been one of my favorites in the past. It's such a unique experience and really fun to have this level of firepower. Even if you find it difficult to play, I think you'll have a good time with just the sheer volume of fire that Atlanta can have. There's something kind of fun about that in itself. Thank you very much for watching and have a great rest of your day.